I just wondered if you could explain what permaculture is and why the reserve is here, you know, basically.
Okay. So, well, here we are in Knowlmead, in Kingston Permaculture Reserve at Knowlmead. This was established about 20 years ago in a bit of allotment that was unusable. It had a lot of waterlogging problems, and nobody could conventionally grow on it. So, using a permaculture approach, this has become quite a productive site. And permaculture is this idea of permanent agriculture or permanent culture, which involves really working in a way that's modelled on nature, working with nature in order to design productive systems, useful systems for people, with this ethic of nature, earth care, of people care, and of fair shares. So the main centre of this site is forest garden, which is quite often an element of a permaculture system. It has multi-layers. It goes from quite high trees down to low ground cover, and different produce from those different layers. Within the tree layer itself, there's a range from dwarf stock, quite low trees, to, as I say, to quite higher ones. And another feature of a forest garden is great diversity. So, whereas this is basically an orchard, it doesn't look like a conventional orchard, very neat and ordered. It's much more like a natural system, with that kind of randomness of look, and many different varieties of apples, of pears, of plums, of gages, all within this one system. And that's more like a natural ecosystem, and it allows the kind of relationships and the balance that you get in a natural forest. So that's the main part of the garden here, and around the edge we've got different habitats. We've got sort of natural woodland areas. We've got a hazel copse you're looking at now. We've experimented a bit with wildflower meadows, and all of those have different contributions to the whole system and to each other. There's a willow copse down the bottom, which also produces fibres, and so within a small area, just an acre, we've got lots of different things coming out of it. And of course, being a community garden, it's also an opportunity for us to learn from each other, to learn skills and sort of think about how to manage nature. In the middle we've got a pond here which drains. We have ditches draining the system. As I say, it started off in a very waterlogged state, but by building the ditches we've been able to channel the way the water collects on the site, and that becomes a positive resource with a bit of thought, so that you've now got a nice pond in the middle. It's a clay lined pond, nothing unnatural in there, and that becomes a great source of animals, of frogs particularly. The frogs then spread around the site, and that's part of the system, and the frogs themselves do quite a lot of pest control for the produce. So and that also means that although we occasionally do get a bit of waterlogging in very wet weather, it's generally been in much better state. We're making more use of the natural conditions rather than trying to force a simple artificial production system where it doesn't really fit. So we get lots of wildlife, lots of we've got lizards and voles and kestrel overhead earlier, lots of different insects, lots of probably many species we haven't identified, lots of fungi around, and it's, above all, perhaps it's just a beautiful place to be, particularly in the summer. You're seeing it now in its bare state, where you can at least see the structure. But if you come back in the summer months or spring, you'll see lots of colour and lots of real vitality in the system. So it's just a nice place to hang out, particularly in this fairly urban part of Tolworth.
And you get lots of produce as well.
A lot of produce. So the biggest produce we get in terms of sort of tonnage is apples, and there's quite a lot of different varieties. I think there's about 20